Hello everyone and welcome to another D&D Beyond Homebrew tutorial video. Today we are actually, if you are hearing this and you're seeing as a new upload, there is a reason for that. This is a redo of an earlier video we did that had some noise issues. So today we are covering magic items. If you want to create a magic item, go over here to your collections and then select create magic item. Now magic items is one of the nice ones in that if you have created a homebrew item, it will appear on the list. You can either select a item that's been previously made either by D&D Beyond team or an item in your collection and then use that as a basis, or you can create from scratch. So obviously to create it, you're going to need to name it, you need to give it a rarity, and then you need to pick an item type. So the three item types are item, armor, weapon. If you pick item, you've got to pick your magic item type, such as rod, wand. For lots of weirder magic items, generally always go with wondrous item. If, however, you pick armor, you've got to pick one of the armor types. You can modify the base armor. So with leather armor, for example, you will get the full modifier of your dexterity bonus. You could, however, change that and go, this leather armor will not give you a dex bonus, or that piece of plate will give a dex bonus. And you can also alter the strength requirement and determine if it's disadvantage or no effect on your strength check. And then weapon, you have to pick a weapon to use as a base. So for this, we'll just go do one item. Here, attunement, you will purely, if you want to give your item attunement, tick the tick box. If anyone can attune it, that's all you need. It'll be added on the character sheet to the attunement section. If it has to be attuned to a specific type, you would write that here. Please note, if you put something like requires attunement by a wizard, this has no mechanical effect on the actual D&D Beyond character sheet. So you have to, it expects the players to be honest when they're attuning that they meet the requirements. Obviously, to create the item, you'll need to put in a description. Down here is additional information. So normally it's closed, open it. If you have items, so for example, you can use 2 charges to cast the fireball spell. You would click here, charges. You would say how many charges and when they recharge. If you type to short rest or long rest, when the player clicks the appropriate rest button, it will recharge automatically, or at least it should. If you pick dawn, the player will have to remember that it recharges at dawn, and if there's so many die, they're going to have to roll it then. Non-consumable just means when the charge is there, the item's used up, which point I do not believe it automatically removes itself from inventory. The player will have to remember, and other is for edge cases. Any unique items you want to make. You can write here what the recharge description is, any extra notes you want for the item. Weight, you can give it your avatar, give it tags. Now we get to the interesting bit. Modifiers, conditions, and spells. So modifiers works the exact same as every other modifier for races, for feats, subclasses. However, with magic items, you actually will find a use for a number of these. So, bonus, say for example you have a +3 magic item. You don't have to put an individual to hit and damage bonus. You select bonus. Then down here should be magic. Yes. Here, magic. It has been a short while since I've done this, so let me just double check. Easy way if you ever want to double check something is to actually look it up. So let's go with a sword. Here we go. +3 short sword. It has been a little bit of time. Yeah, bonus magic. And what you put in fixed value is the number. So if you want to give it a +3 magic item, you would click bonus, magic, and select the fixed value as free. Other things you can do is add additional damage. So for example, if you want to do an additional D4 acid damage, you would choose this. other fun ones is resistance, immunity, vulnerability. You can modify using weapon. So weapon property will let you add a weapon property. So for example, say you had a longsword and you wanted to make it a magic longsword that gave the finesse weapon trait, where you'd go weapon property finesse, but you could pick any of the weapon properties here. Ignore would allow you to, okay, that's not, there is an option to remove, here we go, ignore weapon property. So technically D&D Beyond does not give you a way to create a base weapon, but you can, if you find one of the weapons you like the damage type for, you can very easily, using ignore and add weapon properties, create a bit of a Frankenstein variant of an item to better suit what you're trying to do. It isn't perfect, but it hopefully will enable you to get a similar effect. Conditions. Generally, we don't touch this. It's about any conditions your magic item will apply, remove, suppress. Usually it comes up with cursed items, so you can pick a condition. But as you can see here, if I pick grappled, it doesn't really say if... It doesn't say here, really, if it is applied, removed, or suppressed. There isn't a mechanical effect. So I would actually, most of the time, leave that for here. Just put it in the text box and let the players read it. Spells is slightly different to feat. So if you look at our feat video, if you pick spells, there's a lot of options. Unfortunately for magic items, it's literally you pick one spell name, you say what the minimum number of charges is. So if you want to give a fireball and your item has 5 charges and it uses 3 charges to cast a fireball, you would put 3 here and 3 here, because what you're saying is it's 3 charges to cast fireball at the minimum spell level. If, however, you wanted to do it where the spell could be, you could spend more charges, but to up the level of the spell, you could increase the maximum amount and basically say, for example, say you had cure wounds, you could go 1 and 5, and then they can spend between 1 and 5 charges based on the level of cure wounds they use. If you want to say the item has a set spell save DC that doesn't use theirs, put that here in save DC. If you want it to be cast at a certain level, you also say so in that box. It's a lot more limited compared to feats. It is a hope of mine that in time they will flesh out magic items to give them more mechanical options here, be they actions, flesh out the spell section. Modifiers is the main thing. The other thing I've found in the past to use magic items for is using spell charges. So say for example you wanted to give a weird Benny. Admittedly, this was before feats could just be given on the fly. You could use charges to kind of replicate a subclass feature or a boon. Nowadays, however, I would probably advise you move that to feats, as that is the much more pliable system. Now that's covered the basics. There is one thing I do have to bring up. If you pick a magic item, magic armor or magic weapon, you can only make this for one item at a time. So say for example you wanted to make a sword that when you said a power word would be covered in lightning, and you're now dealing lightning damage. You couldn't make that and say apply this to all weapons. You would have to make a long sword and a short sword and a dagger, and if you want to add axes, you have to add all the axes. Now admittedly, what you could do is make it a weapon, pick any weapon, save it, because then it will be added to your collection, and then when you go to create magic item, you could select that item here in the list, just type in the name, select it in the list, and just edit what weapon template it's using, and the same thing applies to armor. It's not perfect, it's not great, but it's how the system has to work, so it knows what weapon properties and base damage your magic item is applying to in the character sheet. So yeah, that is magic items. I hope you found this helpful, and yeah, we will see you all in the next video. Bye.